Thank you for pressing the self-destruction button.
Hey! Oh, hey! It's, it's like a koala bear crapped a rainbow in my brain!
Listen, here's $5. I've got to get to 1008 Park Avenue right away. It's an emergency. Look, I'm really in a hurry. Isn't there something you can do? $10 more. Look, I've got to be there before 5. Well, what's going on up there? We're getting someplace. Now, look, will you just get around him? Just get in this lane. Do it! I've got to be there by 5. Hey, mister, you're going to be 10 minutes late, so just keep your shirt on.
You know, a lot of us have family members that are going through a crisis or dealing with problems like this. So you know, it's art therapy in a way. It's a cathartic kind of release for me.
Rack lays it up, no, but we do have the whistle and a foul. Ben just went after our 10. Trouble right here in the Motor City. We got big trouble here in the Motor City. Steven Jackson still screaming at the Pistons.
We came back now, but
Short on the headsets. The Indiana broadcast.
and Ben Wallace just threw something at him. There goes Ben Wallace again.
There goes Artest up into the crowd. He's absolutely out of his mind. And Steven Jackson slugging people in the crowd here.
The whole Indiana team is in the crowd.
And now the Pistons are coming over.
And you want to be my latex salesman.
Hey, did you see that? Did you see somebody go past the window? What? Somebody just went past that window, downwards. Oh. Must be a board meeting. Oh, yeah.
He's faking it, Joey. He's faking it.
I think he's in trouble.
Julie, this guy, if he can't take a joke, he stinks.
It's on fire! It's on fire!
Sir, I would like to complain about that last scene about people falling out of high buildings. I myself have worked all my life in such a building and have never once...
Jack, you know what? Hey, I really like that hate t-shirt. The whole angry young man, black thing, generation. You know what I mean? It's cool.
Yeah, it's the name of a comic book. Can I borrow your pen 1 second?
Absolutely.
happy now?
My artwork is popular because it connects with the ordinary person, and they can understand it very easily. And I've always meant it to be so. I've never confined my art to a particular section of humanity. I love people in general. My art reflects it, and that's the way it's always been.
Hello, and welcome to Taylor Talks Comics Live. What the heck is that? How is everybody doing today on this International Kite Day? Is also, man, I am sorry. I need to do like some voice workouts before I do the show. It is also LL Cool J's birthday today, and the great legendary Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Oh, anybody old WWE fan? How's everybody doing today, though? We got the chat lighting up today. Please continue to light that up. And don't forget to, let me see if I can grab this little scroll thing here. Smash the like button, subscribe, comment down below. Even if you're watching on replay, I reply to all comments, regardless if you're here live or here later. And super chats are always welcome and super appreciated. How's everyone doing today, though? I do have a few bits of news to discuss, and also a small haul. I don't have a ton of books that I hauled in the last week, but I still have books to show off. And I think that's it. So I'm gonna rely on you guys to light up the chat and talk comics with me. What do you guys want to talk about? What are you guys reading lately? Here's a good question right off the bat from Monster Mash. Those Atlas Library editions, are they all different sizes? No. In fact, only one of them is a different size, and that is the... Sorry about that. That is only the first one. So the first one that was... What was it called? Atlas... something horror related. Maybe I should look that up. It was a different size because they made a mistake, I guess. I don't know. I never heard officially what happened with that book, but the first one was a different trim size because they Adventures into Terror. They either messed up or the printer messed up on the page. I don't know what happened. But the first one is a little bit smaller in trim size, and also the pages have like a extra white border on the bottoms and tops of them. But every subsequent volume after that has all been the same exact trim size. Some of them are thicker than others, but as far as like everything else is the same. Like the height, the trim size, the page, how it's laid out, it's all exactly the same after that first volume. Will they ever reprint that first volume with correction? I kind of doubt it. I mean, I guess it all depends on if if it goes out of print, first of all, which it might be out of print for all I know. But that's go to print first, and then there's be like a high demand for a reprint. Now they have reprinted like the Carl Barks Library volumes, and they have reprinted the EC Artist Library volumes. Not all of them, but they've reprinted them before. So I don't know if the Alice will. Maybe they will reprint it with a correction. But I hope that answers your question. James Abel in the house, super producer. Josh Greathouse, the other producer. Is that insulting, Josh, if I call you the other producer? 1 week. 1 week, Taylor is just going to play reruns, and we won't know. Going to keep playing reruns, and we won't know. Hello to Chris Brogan. Boo! StreamYard. I know. I'm still... Hopefully next week. I feel like I'm constantly... talking about my procrastination crisis with you guys. Nice. I love Ladies Love Cool James. Is that what LL Cool J stands for? I don't know if that's a joke or not, but I've never heard what LL Cool J stood for. Whenever I think of LL Cool J, I think of the first time I ever saw him in my life. And that was on an episode of All That, which was a great show. And it's funny to me now, looking back on it, that as a kid, I was watching All That, and I thought, and I knew and I was aware of everyone on the show except for LL Cool J. Like, he was like the guy that was like, who is this guy? But everyone else seemed like a superstar to me. Now, in hindsight, obviously, it was the other way around. Is that what LL stands for? Yes, Josh. Ladies Love Cool James. That's interesting. That's kind of like CM Punk, how the CM stands for Chick Magnet. Now, he's gone on and said, like, it stands for Chicago Made, or it stands for Cookie Monster. And he's come up with Crooked Moonsault. He's come up with all these other different names. But originally, it was because he was in a tag team called the Chick Magnets. And he's Chick Magnet Punk, which is totally strange. The other producer is going to do less work now. Oh, no. I need to come up with a cool name for you. Like, he's the super producer, so you're the Uber producer. That sounds like you drive cars. What's up, Taylor? Are you excited for the complete Tales of the Crypt archive from Dark Horse? Thank you, MZ Abrams, for joining me. I almost called you Abrams, like your fancy British composer, MZ Abrams. Abrams. I don't know. I did see that, and I do have that in my notes to talk about for the news. My only trouble with the Dark Horse reprints is I don't like the coloring, the modern coloring. It just, I don't know. It's like I feel the same way about, and this is gonna trigger Josh, but the same way about the Walt Simonson Thor omnibus. It just has like this. It's not even. I feel like the Swamp Thing Absolute editions that people freak out about, that Steve Oliff reprint or recolored. I feel like that's almost a better version of recoloring or modern recoloring than what we got with the Walt Simonson one, or what we get with the EC ones from Dark Horse, because it's a total recoloring. It's a total reimagining. I feel like the Walt Simonson, and I'd even throw in the Neil Adams recoloring into this mix. What those do is, if it's kind of like taking an old movie and trying to, obviously without refilming or reshooting the whole thing. So in this case, without redrawing the whole thing, like you're trying to bump it up from looking like it did on film and then subsequently on VHS, trying to bump it up to 4K. And you originally watched it either on VHS or in the theater, and now you're bumped up to 4K. Now it just looks odd. Now it's just like, wait a minute, why is this movie, this classic movie from the 60s, all of a sudden look like a movie from 2025? Like, there's like this disconnect here. And that's what I feel like the Walt Simonson Thor and the Dark Horse EC comics kind of do. It's like they try to make it look like it's a modern comic, but it still has classic looking artwork and classic looking lettering, and the whole other package is classic. So it's like this disconnect for me, and I'm not a big fan of it. So while I think if you've never read EC comics and that maybe doesn't bother you, and I might be speaking out of school here because I didn't read the original EC comics. I'm not 80 years old or 70 years old, however old you'd have to be to read those originally when they came out. But it just, I don't know. It's just a disconnect. It would be like watching It's a Wonderful Life or Clerks, even like these, which was a 90s movie, or like a black and white movie, and then them putting it in color in 4K, and you're just like, this isn't the same thing. That's the disconnect for me, I guess. So I am excited that it's a thing. It does make me wonder if we'll eventually get Creepy Eerie archives and big fat omnibuses, which I think is what Josh stated he would like. And okay. But I don't like the coloring. I don't know. I can't get past that. So I'd be more excited about Taschen doing more EC collected editions, which they're supposed to come out with another science fiction one. But if they come out with the Tales from the Crypt, That would be exciting to me, which they'll probably do that in it'd probably 2 volumes for their big, huge books. But so I'm excited it's a thing. I'm excited that more people read EC Comics. I'm excited for all that. But just for me personally, and I don't mean to deter anybody from reading it. Like, if you don't mind the modern recoloring, then by all means, get excited and read it. But, you know. Dude, nicknames usually have something to do about women. Isn't that interesting? The Uber producer says Taylor enjoys being wrong. Fake Hooser. You spelled Hoosier wrong, Josh. Fake Hooser. What's a Hooser? There's an I in there, buddy boy. In fact, look what I hold this past weekend was Hoosiers on VHS. So now I'm a real Hoosier. Everybody see this movie, right? Everybody seen the classic basketball movie of Hoosiers with Gene Hackman? Great stuff. I'm not ready to show off my haul. I was just showing that off to show Josh that, you know, got your back. I really enjoyed your video today, Josh. Josh released a video today. I think I might have missed it. Josh, put a link in the description, or maybe if you don't, the super producer can. What was Josh's video about today? Tried something different. I got to agree about EC. Oh, thank you, First Kings, by the way, for joining me. I got to agree about the EC recoloring. I prefer the way Fantagraphics is presenting their Atlas Comics library. Yes, that's the way to present classic comics. You should present all art in the way that it originally, as close to the way that originally was released. There's no need to update things. Okay, George Lucas. Like, I just don't understand that thought process. I would understand, like, for movies that have like director's cuts, those to me are different. Like, so like if like the Blade Runner was originally released with the narration that everybody hated, right? So and I know like the director's cut, I don't think was too far removed from the original theatrical release, but let's say 2025 we unearthed the director's cut. Would that be necessary to release then? Yes, because that's not updating the art. That's just showing like a new interpretation of it, and honestly, the original meaning from the artist. So those kinds of recoloring I don't mind, as if like kind of what Jose Villarrubia is doing with the Richard Corbin books. Like some of those, the original coloring doesn't match the coloring that is being done by Jose Villarrubia, and that's only because Jose is going off the original notes from Richard Corbin. So Richard Corbin's original intention with the colors, he couldn't pull off because of printing or whatever the issues were back then. So now with the new technology, Jose can get to the original thought process. He's not trying to recolor it just so it appeals to modern audiences. He's trying to recolor it to get back to what the original artist intended. And that's my issue with like the Marvel reprints and things, their Masterworks program, is that the original colorists and artists took into account the type of paper quality that these were going to be printed on. So if they have like this 100% blue or something, whatever, I don't know, I'm not a colorist, but if they were to have like, I'm going to bump the blue up this much because I know that it's going to be printed on newsprint and it's going to soak it in different, so it'll be desaturated a little bit. Well, if you take that exact same process and then put it on a high gloss stock of the omnibuses and masterworks or whatever, or even just follow the exact same files, I don't know the process, how they do that, then it's going to look different laid on a different page because they weren't taking into account the page. Does that make sense? So what Atlas does with Alan Harvey, who's in charge of the restoration there, is that Dr. Michael Vassallo, who is the curator of that collection and writes all the introductions, he finds actual copies of these comics. Most of them are coming from his personal collection. Otherwise, he's hunting them down. If you're a part of the Atlas Facebook group, he'll frequently put on there, hey, I'm looking for a copy of this comic for an upcoming collection. And he'll scan them in, and then Alan touches them up. And all he is trying to do is trying to make it look like the original art. So any sort of like aging and that thing, he'll try to, correct those issues, because the original intention wasn't for it to age on yellow newsprint and look worse. So he's trying to update that, but he's trying to make it look as like the original as possible. That's the way I wish Marvel and DC would reprint all of their comics, honestly. And I do feel there's a little bit of a small transformation in the industry of people understanding that is the better way, that classic comics are going to be read by people that want to read them as classic comics, that modernizing them is not helping, because any sort of modern comics reader that doesn't want to read Silver Age or Golden Age comics, it's not because of the coloring or the way they look. It's typically because the issues I hear is because there's too much dialogue, there's too much exposition, there's too many words. Those are the complaints I hear. I don't hear any complaints about the art or the coloring or anything like that. Maybe a little bit, I guess. I have gotten in arguments with people about Jack Kirby, and people trying to say that he's not a great artist or whatever, and those people are crazy. But the sane people, the people that have their minds, don't think Jack Kirby's bad, will complain about the wording or the dialogue. And I guess you could modernize that by re-editing the whole thing and rewriting it, but who wants to do that, and who wants to read that? But the coloring is, I don't know. It seems like an unnecessary issue. Taylor Talks Comics convinced me not to read EC. Weird, haha. Josh, come on. Thanks for that info. You're welcome, Monster Mash. I think you asked about the Atlas books, right? Josh, my most rare comics after 30 years collecting. That's an interesting. I want to watch that video. How about I put it on the tape for everybody to watch now, and we'll just watch that instead of my show. Just kidding. And on the tape. I don't even know how these things work. Sorry, I got messages coming in. But no, everyone should go like and subscribe to Josh's YouTube channel. After this show, go and watch this video. I'm going to go watch it, that's for sure. Great House's Rarest Books, aka Taylor would enjoy if watched. I'm going to today. When I was a kid, I think I got that VHS from McDonald's as a gift. Like as a Happy Meal toy? Hoosiers? I know McDonald's back in the day did I'm just trying to see now if this is a McDonald's copy. It's not. I know McDonald's back in the day did like VHS like cartoons for their characters. Oh, this was owned by, there's like an address label on it. I don't want to dox this person, but it has like their name. Like anybody from the 90s, remember when your parents would get these address labels printed off and you'd stick them on letters? This person stuck it on this VHS tape. I guess the idea here was that if her copy of Hoosiers was to go missing, you would send it back to her at this address. I don't know. Like, why is your copy of Hoosiers outside of your house? Maybe she lent it to a lot of people. Anyways, what was I talking about? Oh, McDonald's. They would do like a short little 20-minute episodes of like their cartoons for their characters, like Ronald and Mayor McCheese, which I got back here. But I don't remember them doing like actual movies. Or maybe they do. Now I'm having second thoughts. I think my brother got a copy of Charlotte's Web from McDonald's once. I don't know. Interesting. First Kings. Since he used Blade Runner as an example, that film had a set with every version of the movie included. Or something short like Killing the Joke. Yes. Perfect example. Yes, First Kings. This is a great example. So Blade Runner had like which if you don't know, Blade Runner had multiple cuts. I think they had like the theatrical cut. The three most famous ones are the theatrical cut, the director's cut, and then the final cut. And there were some other cuts that they had here and there with like snippets of differences. I think they're all various versions of theatrical cuts. I don't know. But the three main ones are theatrical, director's, and final. And they have had DVD sets or Blu-ray sets with all three of them in it. And in fact, no, never mind. I bought mine off iTunes, and I think it only had the directors in theatrical. I don't think it had the final cut. I don't know if I've even watched the final cut, to be honest. Maybe I have. I don't know. But the biggest difference is, there are multiple differences, especially with like how things end in the movie. The climax is different. But the biggest, most like jarring difference you'll notice if you watch both of them is the narration. The theatrical cut, the studio asked Ridley Scott to put a kind of a old school police detective noir narration of Harrison Ford talking over the top of some of the scenes. And reportedly, I don't know, this is rumored, But reportedly, Harrison Ford and Ridley Scott both hated this idea, and I guess Harrison Ford like phoned it in on the narrations and whatever. So the director's cut then takes all that out, and it just lets the scene in the atmosphere and things kind of speak for themselves. I guess it would be kind of, in a way, editing out the exposition out of a Golden Age comics. Interestingly enough. But I digress. Now, as a fan of Blade Runner, I love Blade Runner. And I frequently watch both versions. I'll be honest, I don't hate the theatrical version. I think it's kind of cool because the movie is a mashup of those classic noir movies and a dystopian future sci-fi. So I feel like it kind of works. But I also love the director's cut as well. I kind of go back and forth. And typically I'll choose which one I'm watching based on what I'm doing. If I could just sit down on the couch and just watch and not have to worry about anything else, I watch the director's cut. If I'm watching it in the background and I'm like doing something else, whether it be like drawing or organizing my shelves or working on something, typing something, then I'll watch the theatrical cut because the narration kind of helps me know what's going on if I can't like watch the whole time. But the Killing Joke now, I'm sorry, this is a long diatribe, but I love this topic. The Killing Joke, the Absolute Killing Joke, which, have I done a video on the Absolute Killing Joke? I haven't. I did do a video on Absolute Batman Year One, which also has a similar treatment. They both present, in Batman Year One, Absolute, they have two different books. In the Killing Joke, it's all in one book. But regardless, they both present the stories in two different ways. They have the original newsprint with the original coloring version, and then the modern recoloring that was done for trade paperback on the modern paper. They both have those in there, and I love it. I love the comparison, and I can even show people when I have this topic, when I'm talking about this, and they're like, "What are you talking about with paper quality and coloring? This is all over my head. You sound like a madman." I can show them like page for page, like Killing Joke and Absolute Batman Year One, what the differences are. And I think in that video, I do that with Absolute Batman Year One. I don't know if I've done Killing Joke as a video. I don't think I have. But you got to flip them back and forth and compare the two. Now, I often always side with the original thing. Like when I read Batman Year One, funny enough, it's not like Blade Runner in my consuming of it, because when I read Batman Year One, I'll typically read the original newsprint version in the Absolute edition or the artist edition. I typically don't read the modernization, even though the first time I ever read Batman Year One in my life was in a trade paperback that had the modern recoloring. Same thing with the Killing Joke. I much preferred the original colors, which were done by John Higgins. They have like more of a psychedelic feel to them than the Brian Boland colors, who was the artist on the book. He had more of a modernization, realistic look to him. And I like the original colors. So I don't know that I've ever read in the Absolute edition. I don't think I've ever read the Brian Boland colors. Like I don't ever sat down and read them like that. I've always go for the John Higgins colors. What is your guys' opinion on that? If people that own those Absolute editions, which version do you typically read? And also, I guess I have Killing Joke and Artist Edition as well now, the Gallery Edition, which I did do a video on that. Maybe that's what I think yes, the Killing Joke Gallery Edition. I think I show off the Absolute Edition a little bit in that video, but I don't think I've done a proper video just showing off the Killing Joke. Matt, thank you for joining me. Hey, Taylor, I've been diving back into a lot of your older videos. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's what I want in my... I've always thought my channel has more evergreen videos. I want them to be videos that can live on forever. Like, yes, I do breaking news videos once in a while, and these live shows maybe could be dated if you watch them later. But the videos where I do overviews and things, like I want those to be able to live forever. Like you can, like people 5 years from now can go find my video of Absolute Watchmen that I did in 2019 or whatever. I guess that's 7 years ago. And it's still relevant. But I digress. I've been diving back to a lot of your old videos. I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to really go over and look at over a book and add a lot of information to the context. Thanks. Great job. Thank you, Matt. I appreciate that. I really do. I put a lot of work into it. I have a lot of built up useless knowledge in my brain that I'm trying to, filter out. And I appreciate that. They used to have a lot of random VHS tapes. What other movies have people gotten from McDonald's before? I assume that they had some sort of McDonald's logo on them. I wonder if those are collector's items. I know there's like a community now of like people collecting old video games and slabbing them and stuff. I don't know. People, I have seen people slab VHS tapes because I was looking for an old movie I watched recently. By the way, I'm on Letterboxd. It's in the description below, and I've been watching a lot. I've watched like 8 movies so far this year, and I write a little paragraph of a review for each of them if you want to check it out. Letterboxd is kind of like Goodreads, but for watching movies. Everyone should go on there. You don't have to write anything. You could just put the movie you watch in a star rating. You know, you don't have to do it, but it's a cool little community too because you can follow people and like and comment to people's reviews. But I watched a movie called Smithereens, which was awesome. It was like as if I found it on Tubi, I think, or Pluto, one of those free apps, streaming apps. And it's like as if Woody Allen did like a movie about the 1980s punk scene in New York. Really good movie. I liked it quite a bit. So I went to look to see if it was on VHS because, you know, I'm amassing this VHS collection. And the only, like, it was released on VHS, but like it was going for like crazy money. So I'm assuming I had a small print. And I saw a slab copy for like $1,000 on eBay. Interesting. Who's slabbing VHS tapes? Why am I slurring my words? I'm not drunk, I promise. Slabbing. I remember getting Bill and Ted Bogus Journey from Pizza Hut. Ooh, I do remember Pizza Hut had X-Men VHS tapes whenever they did like an X-Men promotion. So my brother had a couple of those, and it had like a couple episodes of the show on there. I saw it without narration. It needed those voiceovers. Oh, so Josh is anti-director's cut. I don't think it needs it, especially if you're going to sit there and watch and soak it in. I guess I will say there is a lot of like, it can be very esoteric and like out there, and like Ridley Scott like makes the viewer. It's one of those movies that warrants rewatching to figure out what's going on. I guess it'll be the easy way to say it. It's like a Grant Morrison comic. So I can see the narration helping with that, I guess. But now, Josh, I wonder now if you've watched it with the narration, if you go back and watch the director's cut, if you'd feel the same way or if you would enjoy it that way. Batman Year One Artist Edition from David Mazzucchelli. There's my video of that. Love that book. Taylor enjoys The Dark Knight in 2 different styles. There's another video. Here's the Killing Joke Gallery Edition video. That one's a great book, by the way. That one, I don't think that video did very well in the views, which everyone should go watch it now to fix that. But that book is amazing because it's not just the Killing Joke in artist edition form. It also has like over 100 more pages of Brian Boland original art. What is going on today? So it has like all of his like a bunch of his covers from like Animal Man and Doom Patrol and Wonder Woman that he did. It has a bunch of like, I don't know if it has any other comics. I can't remember. Like any other like interior pages. I can't remember. But it does have like a lot of extra pages beyond just the Killing Joke. Flex Metallo is another series where I think the original colors are vastly superior. First Kings, I agree. I want that in Absolute Edition so they can re-release it that way. I only have it in, I think it's down here actually. There it is. I only have it in the deluxe edition. They just reprinted this recently, actually. So everybody should go check this out. It's one of my all-time favorite, like, comics, period. But one of my all-time favorite Grant Morrison comics, for sure. With amazing artwork by Frank Quitely. Such a good book. This book, every time I read it, I love it more. Like, there's just more things I pull out of it. But I agree, the original colors are better. So I'm pretty sure I have a full set of the single issues somewhere around here. And they did the same damn thing with this. Like, they have the modernized brown colors where everything's brown. I don't understand modern comic coloring, honestly. Like, last summer I started reading Bendis Avengers because I've never read it before, and I was like, I'm gonna read it digitally. I was like, I want to read it all digitally. I've never read Bendis Avengers. I hear how great it is. I'm just gonna pow through it, and I got like a good ways through. I think I read like 20 or so issues. I just sneezed. Okay. I read 20 or so issues, and then I just couldn't stand how much brown there was on the page anymore. Like, I shared it with my friend group, so I wonder if I could show it on here someday to show you what I'm talking about. Maybe I could do a video on that. But it was just like, everything was brown. And I was like, what am I, like, who colors pages like this? Like, I don't read a comic to make it, and it in their defense, it was kind of in their defense. It was scenes that were in the desert, I think, or some sort of desert area, but there's still ways around that. You can put color in there, especially when you're dealing with colorful superheroes. But it was just browns. It was ugly. And then just now I've been reading the Doom Patrol by Keith Giffen omnibus, which I've been talking about. And I love the first part of it, of that omnibus, where it's old Teen Titans, Doom Patrol. But then I got to these new 52 issues. I forget what it is. It's a 6-issue arc, and I think it's 52. That one series where they did like a new issue every week. And this arc was just hard to get through. I didn't know what the hell was going on. And it is like 52 issues, like, I don't know, 34 through 40 or something. So it's like, it is the beginning of a new story arc, but also it's the middle of a long ongoing. And normally I don't mind that kind of stuff, because like even I talked about this with like Jeff Johns Teen Titans issues in there. Whenever they like reference Infinite Crisis or something that I have no knowledge of because I've never read Infinite Crisis, I don't mind that. Like, that's kind of like oh, that's interesting, I want to read that one day kind of thing. It doesn't bother me. But when it's like a story that I have no idea what's going on, I don't know who half the characters are, and nothing's explained for me. Maybe I need the exposition of Golden Age comics. And then like I was lost in that regard. And then it was just all this naturalized browns on every page. And I was like, who wants to read this? I'd much rather have like the 4-color CMKY comics that are exploding with color. I don't know. But this is another book that did that. Frank Quitely, I think, handled all the colors. Is he the listed colorist? Maybe not. I think we talked about this before. I think there is a colorist, which I think no, the colorist is Peter Doherty, which I think Harvey's Picar's Ghost said that that's the same colorist that was on the original comics. But if you do a comparison of the two between the single issues and this, you can see that a lot of the fun psychedelic kind of colors, they muted out and made them more natural looking, which is what don't like it. But yes, I agree. First Kings. Chris Brogan. I just looked up. McDonald's sold Hoosiers, Back to the Future, and Field of Dreams in the late 80s, early 90s for $5.99. I do have Back to the Future on VHS here, and this copy was sealed, so this is like a brand new tape. It looks in great condition. Maybe I should slab this. But that's kind of interesting. I wonder what the McDonald's version looks like. I'm assuming it probably looks the same, but they put like the golden arches on it somewhere. Gotta love Philip K. Dick. Yes, Monster Mash. I actually, I don't know that I've read any Philip K. Dick books. I've watched a lot of movies based on his material, and I think I might have even read a comic based on his material, but I never actually read his prose. So I want to correct that. I know in my Discord, which everybody should check out, the link is down below. I believe it was Lobster. I don't want to miscorrect it. But someone's asking about Ray Bradbury, if I had read any Ray Bradbury comics from EC. Yeah, Lobster Hybrid in my Discord. How I felt about them, and I said I love them, but I don't really have a comparison to the Ray Bradbury prose stories because I've never read any of those. Which he posted Fahrenheit 451, which I've had my eye on that book for a long time. I pick it up sometimes when I see it at a thrift store. but I never. It is on my list though. I do want to read that one. And then you listed another one that I'm interested in as well. Matthew, hello. First time tuning in to a live stream. Thank you. I checked your channel out after seeing you on OmniDog stream. I've learned a lot about comics from your channel as I am mainly a manga reader. Well, thank you, Matthew. I appreciate that quite a bit. I do find myself, Matthew, reading a lot more manga this year. I feel like that's on my horizon. I'm reading 20th Century Boys all the way through for the first time now. I read volumes 1 through 3. Like, this will be my 4th time reading those, and my second or third time reading all the way through volumes 8. But now I have the whole series, so now I'm going to start back at the beginning and read the whole thing because I absolutely love this series so far. Everything I read from it, I could tell it's going to be one of my favorite comics ever. So I'm going to read that this year. I have a couple of Osamu Tezuka books on my list I'm going to read. And then I'm going to pick up the My Name is Shingo from Umez. Those hardcovers I'm going to pick up. And Taya Matsumoto's Tokyo These Days. I've read the first volume. I had the first volume, but I need to pick up the second and third volumes I think have come out. Are those Blade Runner 2050 comics any good? I think what you're referring to is the Blade Runner. What they do? They did, I think, the 3 different omnibuses that came out recently from Titan were Blade Runner 2029. No. 2019, 2029, 2039. I think were the 3 different volume series. And I have no idea, Low Hit. Thank you for joining me, by the way, Steel Cell Rocks. I don't know. I do want to read them, though, because I love Blade Runner. And I love Blade Runner 2049. I think was the follow-up movie with Ryan Gosling. That's 2049, right? That was a great movie as well. And I want to read some of the comics. I want to read the original Marvel comic adaptations, too, which I think was Bill Sienkiewicz on those? Or Al Williamson? Who did those? Some artists that I really dig. But I don't know. Someone let me know in the comments. They look great, though, those omnibuses. Who watches The Watchmen? Taylor does. This is an early Taylor Talks Comics video. Like one of my first that I did. So I wonder what the quality of that would be. Here's my letterbox to anybody that watches movies and wants to journal their movies or track what movies they do watch. Follow me on Letterboxd. It's a great app. I find it very helpful too because I go on like the Tubi and Pluto apps sometimes and just like throw on a movie that looks interesting that I've never heard of before. It's like a B or C movie, and but I'll forget the name of it as time goes on. So then when I'm looking again 2 years from now, I'll be like, did I watch that movie? So it's good to have that on Letterboxd to be able to track. Cupcakes Comic Reviews. Thank you for jumping over on your Cupcakes channel. Everyone go check out Cupcakes Comic Reviews. Subscribe to their YouTube channel. I saw Peter Sellers' 1968 The Party, and it was fabulous. Is that a movie? I don't know what that is. Let me know. There's definitely a brown face thing going on in that movie with Peter Sellers playing an Indian guy, but once you get over that, it's awesome. That's also interesting. Simpsons character Apu was inspired by it. I didn't know that. Taylor's not the only guy with useless information in his head. Thank you, Cupcakes Comic Reviews /Low Hit. I didn't know the Simpsons character Apu was inspired by something from another movie. Interesting. Use Taylor's code and buy books. Oh, yes. This is a great time to... Thank you, Josh. You are the Uber producer. Is that going to stick now, Uber producer? I need your sign off on that. Are you okay with that? But yes, use my promo code Taylor Talks Comics on all your orders at panelboundcomics.com, and you'll save $2 off of your order. So they have books discounted for prices. You can add an additional $2 of savings by using my promo code. You save money. I get a little bit of kickback. We all win. Now, if you want to put a larger order in of 4 books or more over at panelboundcomics.com, larger savings opportunity here. Use my other promo code, TTC, ship it together, all one word, TTC, ship it together, and you'll save 5% additional off of that order. Thank you, Josh. Producer extraordinaire. Which one sounds better? Would love the Primal team to do it. What are you talking about? Matt. Can you imagine if? Oh wait, I've missed some comments here. What is going on? Did I just? Oh no! I didn't. Sorry, the chat box is going all over the place here. It's going up and down, up and down, up and down. Here we go. One of the recent posts in the Comics Journal has a Grant Morrison article interview. Have to read that soon. Really? One of the recent posts in the Comics. Interesting. The Comics Journal has an interesting relationship with Grant Morrison. They, in the past, have and I shouldn't say the Comics Journal period, but some of the people who have written for Comics Journal have kind of dismissed Grant Morrison comics as like gobbledygook, not giving credit to the genius writing of Grant Morrison, which I think he is. So they wrote a new article. I wonder if it's as scathing as it has been in the past. I know you're a big fan of Matt Kint. What are your thoughts on Department H? That's the underwater one, right? Badger Stump, thank you for joining me. I like that story a lot, and it's in like 2-volume thick trade paperbacks. That story is a lot of fun. I love any sort of underwater story anyways, but I think Matt Kint's like watercolors really look beautiful in that book, and I would love to see that in a deluxe library edition or oversized. I guess he's working with OmniBus now, right? So it'd be OmniBus doing something. You've never read Infinite Crisis? Terrible. I'm working my way up to it. So anybody that wants to know, I have not read Infinite Crisis. I've not read Final Crisis. I've not read Heroes in Crisis. I've not read Crisis in Time. I have read Crisis on Infinite Earths years ago, and it made almost no sense to me. So over the last like 4 or 5 years, I've had this like kind of a little bit of a goal in my mind that I'm going to try to read as many DC comics as possible, both Gold and Silver Age and Modern, and then I'm going to tackle all these big events. So I think that I am excited about it. I think DC events are better than Marvel events. I'll just say that outright. And I think they, especially when you have guys spearheading these events like Jeff Johns and Grant Morrison, and even like a Mark Waid, like these true historians of the comics that want to pull in a lot of these references to the classic comics. I find Marvel events, not that they dismiss the history, but they just kind of like are like stuck in the present, if that makes any sense. And I like kind of a reference and pullback of the history to then move forward. And I feel like that's what Jeff Johns does quite a bit. Because I have read like his Rebirth issue was fantastic. I read that. So that's kind of my goal right now, is that I want to read all the DC events in order. But before I start doing that, I want to read a bunch of these other characters' pasts. Omar over at Comic Edition has a great video showing all the DC events in history or in order, a reading order. That's kind of what I'm going to be following. And I think when the new Absolute Crisis on Infinite Earths comes out this August, I think I'm going to buy that, and that's going to kick off my DC event reading. And this is going to be like a multi-year project. So nothing I'm going to do for the channel. This is for my own pleasure reading. But that's going to kick it off, and then I'm going to start reading some stuff, and then eventually get through all the events, and eventually work my way up to Infinite Crisis. And I'm hoping, based on what I know and like about what Jeff Johns does, that it'll be so much more rewarding to me. Now, if I were just to dive in and just to pick up Infinite Crisis right now and read it, I'd probably still enjoy it, but I wouldn't enjoy it as much. So I want the full reading experience. So that's why I've put it off for so long. Does that make sense? Sometimes I jump into complex comics and try to figure it out myself and enjoy putting them through the ringer, putting me through the ringer. This is my experience with Age of Apocalypse, X-Men. I like that too. I like, especially, that's what I'm talking about with, hold on. Kind of my exploration with these characters. Like I've read a lot of Flash, a lot of modern Flash. That's the character I've read the most of when it comes to modern DC. And I think he's a great character to kind of guide you through the DC history anyways, because he's been so integral and important to so many DC big events. So I've kind of gone through DC's history with him, and I have read Flashpoint. That's one of the more modern events I've read. But I like when I read like a Flash run modern, and it kind of touches base with some of these events, because then it's like, oh, I want to read that. Oh, I want to read that. But I am just diving in the middle of this continuity that I don't really know much about. Now, Age of Apocalypse is a little bit different because it's a whole nother story, and diving into it can be quite vexing if you're not familiar with a lot of the X-Men continuity, and you might not get a lot of the fact that, like, oh, this character is a villain in this continuity, but he's a hero in the other one. Like, that might not even be on your radar, those kinds of things, because they do a lot of flip-flopping with those. It's kind of like a bizarro universe. But I think that's when you know you have a genius comic book, is when you have both those things happening at once. It could be wonderfully read for someone that has read all of the previous comics, that'll pick up on those references, but also be a rewarding read for someone that has not read any of those. That's the goal, right? Dana, thank you for joining me. Hi, Taylor. I had the same what is going on experience with Rick Remender's Secret Avengers. Brubaker's run was fine, but then Remender's turn was impossible. I've not read that run. That's disappointing, because I like Rick Remender quite a bit. But yeah, like, I don't know. So with that, and with what I'm saying here about diving into these things, again, reading all of what happened before, because it wasn't just Teen Titans. There was another follow-up series in the Doom Patrol omnibus that I'm forgetting the name of, that happened in between. Oh, Secret Six. That's what it was. Secret Six by Gail Simone. I've never read any Secret Six comics. I do want to read them because I hear they're great, but I haven't read any of them. So that was like totally brand new to me. And I think there's 2 or 3 issues in this omnibus of that. Wasn't lost at all. I was trying to pick up on who was who, and it was definitely smack dab in the middle of Secret Six. I think it's like issues like 30 through something. Like, they're like way into the run. But I wasn't lost at all, and I was just reading it with the context of trying to figure out how Doom Patrol affects these characters. So I'm very much a context reader anyways. So, like, you read that, and then maybe when I go back and read Secret Six, I'll be reading it from their perspective a little bit in my context, my brain, and I'll like be like, oh, the Doom Patrol characters, that's how they affect it. But regardless, but then when I got to the 52 or new, I forget what it was called. I know they have new 52 and 52. I think it's just 52. And I was just so lost. There's so many characters that were in there that I did not recognize. And I'm not talking about superheroes. I'm talking about like generic characters. Like, there's this lady in there who, based on the story I'm reading, is seemingly super important. I have no idea who she is. I don't know what her background is. I don't know why she's important. She just looks like a generic lady to me. So there's a bunch of those characters that were just like these human characters that were supposed to be important, but no one was explaining to me why they're important. So, and I think that could have been too, because I don't think it was Keith Giffen. He wrote those issues, but I think he wrote all the previous issues of 52. So he probably didn't feel the need to explain those things. Like, that's why I like the Jim Shooter, Stan Lee, every issue could be someone's first issue kind of thing. I feel like I'm going on like all kinds of diatribes, but I'm trying to keep it in sync here. In sync. There's my Discord. Can you imagine if, say, in 5 years you were working with a team for Bang Bow to the Tiger animated series show? That would be awesome. Speaking of Bang, Matt, one of my hauls, which I should probably get to, I hauled this week Bang Bow to the Tiger Volume 3. There it is, front and back. This is the awesome comic book series that I had Josh on for an interview. He did the Kickstarter for it, and now it's in my hands. I can finally read Volume 3 because I don't read things digitally too much. This was available for me to read, but I knew I was going to get the physical edition, so I wanted to sit down with it in physical form and read it. So I'm going to review this. Even came with a cool bookmark, so thank you, Josh, for that. And he sketched the back page, which I think he does this for everyone. I don't want to put him on the spot and say, you do this for everybody, right? But I'm almost certain he does this for everybody. So I had a really cool sketch in the back. Some original Josh Greathouse artwork. But I'm going to do a review of this on my channel around, I'm talking to Josh about it off the air, around the time that he has these available for sale on his website. Because right now he's working through all the Kickstarter rewards right now, trying to make sure everybody gets their Kickstarters first, which great, Josh, on you to do that. Making sure all the backers get the comics first, and then he's going to have some copies available on his website. Around that time, I'll do a review of this because I don't like to do a review of a comic like that and be like, here's this great comic. Wish you could order it, kind of thing, you know. So I'm gonna wait, but yeah. Hey there, Patch. Dr. Patch is in the house. Hello to you. Strange Love Studios, thank you for joining me. Aloha. Discovered Best Small Press this week. Check them out. You both share a love of Hanselman and Van Sciver. An amazing collection of mini comics and zines. Happy trails. Best Small Press. I wonder if do I follow them? Let me see. Or subscribe to them on YouTube? I'm assuming you're talking about YouTube. Let's see here. Best Small Press. Best Small Press. I don't. And he only has 123 subscribers. Oh, he's showing off Dan Klaus. Recent reads, Simon Hanselman, Noah Van Sciver. Noah Van Sciver. Sammy Harcum. Anise Estrada. Eleanor Davis. Man, more people should subscribe to this guy. We need more YouTubers like this. So everybody go check out Best Small Press. I don't know if you can see that. Just all one word, just type in Best Small Press on YouTube and you'll find them. But thank you for the tip there. That's great. Blade Runner 2049 was the most impressive audio experiences I've ever heard in a theater. Brian, thank you for joining me. Unfortunately for me, I did not see it in theaters, so I don't know what you're talking about. I don't make it to the theater very often. I do regret not. That's one of the ones I wanted to see for sure that I missed out on. But I could definitely see what you mean, though, as far as how great it would be. I can imagine it. Cupcakes Comics Reviews. There's the YouTube channel. Subscribe to that one. Would love the Primal team to do it. Is that an animation team? Awesome plans for manga reads. I've been super into classic horror manga like Cat-Eyed Boy, The Smudge Line, Shigeru Mizuki's yokai works. Matthew, yes, I love The Smudge Line. Anybody that watches my channel knows that. Cat-Eyed Boy, I still need to pick up volume 2 of that. I love the first volume. And Shigeru Mizuki's yokai works. What's the name of his series with a boy with one eye? I've been wanting to pick up that. Those yokai works books, I'm confused by. Are those like best of collections of that series, or are they different? Let me know in the chat. I can't find any information on that. Whoa! Super chat. Boss Guy updates. Thank you so much. So internally grateful. Always thankful. Super appreciated. Hey, Taylor, Noah from Wojo here. I'm not on much, but I get the chance to watch you live again. My 3-year is still looking for her perfect comic. Best of luck on the channel. Thank you for joining me. Yes, your 3-year-old, I don't know. What have you read with her? I would want to know. But thank you so much for the super chat. Always eternally grateful for that. Mansions Press have put a Helicopter Mother by Jeffrey Mahana with a limited edition hardcover with 50 extra pages if anyone's interested. I saw the email for that. I haven't looked at it yet. But it's like a thick book, isn't it? I'd love to see you make a video about comic book recommendations for manga fans and vice versa, unless you've already done videos like that. That is a great idea. I've seen other YouTubers do that, like best Western comics for manga readers or best manga for Western comics readers. And I do love videos like that because I have a dream one day that the communities aren't so diverted. Because manga is comics. I'll argue to the death on any. Some people really do view that as a different medium, and it drives me nuts because manga literally means comics in Japan, and we don't have that kind of diversion for any sort of other medium. Like people that watch foreign movies with like subtitles, they don't view that as a different thing. Like it's still a movie, and even like French comics that are also left to right, like Western comics. People don't view that as a different medium, but for some reason, manga, I don't know if it's because it's right to left, view it as a totally different medium, and it drives me nuts. But I envision one day that people read both, that there's not any sort of like, oh, I don't read manga, I only read comics, or I don't read comics, I only read manga, because there's so much goodness in both of them. That was the first I'm constantly on the discovery and trying to find more comics that I don't know of or aware of, because I love the medium so much, and I want to read everything it has to offer, of every variety. So when I read my first manga that clicked for me, because I tried for years and it just couldn't click for me, but it was Uzumaki by Junji Ito, and when that clicked for me, I just saw the possibilities of comics I could read open up like a door to a whole new land, whole new planet, because I was like, oh man, it finally clicked for me. I can read whatever I want now with manga. There's so many different genres and titles and artists and things I could discover now. So that is a great idea for a video, because I think it would help meld those together. Yeah. Josh is just lazy, doesn't care about his international market. Worse than Top Cow. Oh no, Badger Stump. Really? I could show you the bill. I think he's just joking with Josh here. Worse than Top Cow. Because I think Josh is, I think he's shipped out everything at this point. So if you're overseas, I'm sure it's on a ship somewhere. I don't know anyone called Bill. Manga is comics. Yes. That should be a shirt. I should make that shirt. Manga is comics. I sent packages to UK, Finland, Switzerland, and Australia. I stole so much from manga. That's the thing, too, as far as like an inspiration goes. So many different artists have brought manga into Western comics, and even vice versa. Like Ataya Matsumoto, who's one of my favorite manga, has on record for saying that he's brought a lot of things from like French. I think he's cited like Mobius as an artist he really digs, and some other ones. I forget who else he cited. But yeah, so now it's like going back and forth a little bit. I think it's way more that manga's influencing Western comics than vice versa, but I think we can see that probably go the other way. I do a sketch for everyone. Thank you, Josh, for saying that. So if you want Bang Ballad of the Tiger, did I put it back in here? Why did I put it back in here? Like I'm going to keep this envelope. It's gone now. But if you want Bang Ballad of the Tiger, you get a free sketch in the back by the artist. How cool is that? Josh Greathouse. Manga is awesome. I agree. You're thinking of Kitaro. Oh. Yes, the Kitaro. Okay. Yeah, the books are best of collections, which is kind of unfortunate. I'd recommend Nanaba and Tono Monogatari from Mizuki. Great single volume books. Okay. Yes, Kitaro is the name of the boy with one eye in the name of the manga series. And I had the first volume, I think, years ago, but then I thought I saw like a solicit for a bigger, almost like a Viz signature edition of that series. So I was like, oh, they're going to release newer, better ones. But I think that was a best of or something. So I need to go back and collect those. Drawn and Quarterly, I think, is printing all those, publishing all those. Yes, manga is comics. People can get real weird with that conversation. I know. I've had like people vehemently get very angry with me when I have this conversation with them. As if it's like it's the whole thing with labels too that I hate. It's like people that are like, I had this dating back to going to like punk shows back in my teen years of people that like, that band's not punk, they suck. And it's like, just having a label of what genre you are doesn't warrant whether you're good or bad. Like there could be crappy punk bands and good punk bands. So me saying that this person or this band or whatever is punk isn't me putting a stamp of approval saying they're good. It's just me saying it's punk. They're trying to go for this punk vibe. And people get so weird about it. It's the same thing with like this manga comics thing. I feel like people are like, that's not comics, like manga, like as if it's like superior of some sort. It's like, no, it's the same. They're the same medium. Like there's good and bad in both. I chose manga this year for my NMC year-end picks. You did. Taylor, in collected editions, do you prefer when they use the virgin covers of issues on the original release cover with the title lettering graphics, or the title lettering graphics? I prefer the original with title graphics. Are you talking about the actual cover of the book or on the interiors? I guess I have the same answer for both of them. I much prefer with the original title and graphics. I want it to look like the original comic book. So if I'm reading, let's pull up Flex Metallo, see how they did it in here. If I'm reading a comic, oh, they did it. Oh, they had to almost. Wait, I think this was a weird one though. Let me see. I think they did it on some, but didn't on the others. Let me see. Oh no, they did. So they have all the title lettering on the cover as if it's the original cover. I love that. Now you pick up a collection, an omnibus of sorts. I don't know. Trying to think of an example. How did Shade the Changing Man do it? Because I am very passionate about this. Okay, Shade the Changing Man did the original lettering. I prefer that because the ones that it gets confusing, especially, are like the Doom Patrol Omnibus. And I don't know why there's this distinction, but my chair's stuck. Seemingly, for DC and Marvel, they both will have this thing where classic comics will be collected in a way that have a great table of contents, the original covers in them with all the title lettering on it, and the credits and everything will be in there. But then when they get to the modern comics, for whatever reason, they may or may not have a table of contents. They may or may not have page numbers. The covers on the inside are all virgin covers. So there's no credits of who worked on the issue because in modern comics, that's where the credits are or on the cover. They're not on the inside anymore for whatever reason. That's another topic I hate. So when you have the virgin cover, the credits are gone. So when you're reading it, you're like, who the heck is working on this issue? What issue am I even reading? Because this is an omnibus that has like Superman comics, Batman comics, Wonder Woman, Justice League, like all over the place because it's like an event book or whatever. What am I reading? And then you have to go back to the table of contents and maybe guess and try to figure out. I hate that. I want the presentation to be as if they took all the comic books and bound them together and put them in there. So I want the original covers. And I hate virgin covers. I hate the word virgin cover. Like, it's such a silly name to me, but I digress. Tatsuki Fujimoto's Chainsaw Man read like 100 issues. That was his comic of the year last year. It's like punks back in the day that hated Prague. Yeah. Just dumb stuff, dumb arguments. I feel like manga has a start and end is a big thing. Like the big two are fun, but it is nuts that they may never end. Yeah, there's certainly differences. I could list 100 differences of how they do their storytelling, of how they're collected, of whatever. But there's still sequential art with words. There's still comics. So it's just the same as like a Japanese movie director is going to have a different style and look and feel based on their experiences within their culture than like a Ridley Scott. And there's going to be, but they're still making movies. So yeah, there's huge differences with manga. And I would push back and say that there's plenty of comics that aren't big two that have beginning, middles, and ends. And there's even comics within the big two that do have beginning, middle, and ends with the mini and maxi series. Interior issues. I like them to look like the original issue. Yes, Matt, 100% agree with you. I agree, Monster Mash. I know Badger hates Prague. Numbers are for nerds. Chainsaw Man is really great. I appreciate Tomb Raider had virgin covers, but then you flip the page, has the full credits there. That is okay. If they're going to have the virgin cover, then when you flip the page and the interior has the credits, I'm down with that. If that's the way you want to collect it. But guys like Jonathan Hickman, don't get me started. I hate the way he collects his omnibuses. And yes, he does have control over this, where he has all the covers in the back because he wants to read like a novel or whatever his weird excuse is. Now, he does have chapter breaks. He doesn't go the full Kirkman without chapter breaks, which is a whole other topic. But he has chapter breaks, but they have no credits in them. So like the cover had the credits on it, Jonathan Hickman. So when I'm reading your runs that have multiple artists on it, I don't know who's drawing these issues unless I go back and forth with the table of contents, which isn't even very clear because the table of contents will just say, here are all the artists I worked with. And it'll have like issue numbers with which issues they worked on. But then you go back to the issue with the chapter break and there's no indication of what issue you're even reading. So then you have to do this numbers game. It's annoying. And I think it's a discredit to the people that worked on the comics with you. I will say that. I don't think that's Jonathan Hickman's intention. I don't think he's trying to bury the artists and letters and things that he worked in, inkers and stuff that he worked on the comics with. I don't think he's trying to bury them intentionally, but it is, because me as a reader, I want to know the different colorists and letterers and artists and inkers on each issue that I'm reading. And I can't. You don't make it easy in those collections. Putting all manga in the same basket is dumb as saying all music is the same. That's fair. Are you saying Josh was doing that or me? I don't know. But I'm not saying that I'm not using manga as a genre either. I don't know if that's what you're getting at. That is annoying. When people say that manga is a genre, it's a medium, not a genre. Because within the medium of manga, there's a litany of different genres. So yes, putting it all in the basket for that reason is dumb. And saying that they're all styled the same is also dumb. I think that's why we have like delineations like shonen manga, shoujo manga, which all have like similar styles. Same thing as like superhero comics will kind of have like a similar story pattern and style. I think the biggest issue the West has, we only have one genre that matters. I hope this changes more and more with time. I think it is changing. I think we're finally getting to that point. And I think we're only going to see that go even further and faster into that in the coming decade. I talk about this all the time. Like, that was because of the Comics Code Authority. The Comics Code Authority killed genre comics. It killed a lot of things, but one of the things it killed was genre comics. Romance comics, horror comics, crime comics, war comics were all huge before the Comics Code Authority. And then when that came down, it killed the horror genre completely. But it also dumbed all the comics down to being aimed for kids, because it was like, oh, we have to make everything. And I say this all the time. The Comics Code Authority wasn't a rating system. It wasn't a censorship system, anything akin to what we have in any other medium. It would be like if Hollywood said tomorrow, every movie needs to be G-rated. Everything follows the guidelines of G-rated movies, or you can't make it. We won't hold it into our theaters or whatever. Now imagine what that would do to movies if everything was G-rated all of a sudden, and everything would be dumbed down for kids, because that's the only true demographic you can spearhead things for. You're not gonna make a Blade Runner for a G-rated Blade Runner. That's just silly. So that's what the Comics Code Authority did. So then, like, you had like the 50s housewives reading romance comics, that went away. You had like the businessmen reading the horror comics, that went away. So everything was done for kids, and it just opened the door for superhero comics to take over the whole medium of comics. And for decades after that, that's all we had. Yeah, there were genre comics here and there, of course. But the mainstream, when you think of comics, when the normies think of comics, they think of superhero comics. Finally, though, we're getting to the point where with Image Comics and Dark Horse and all these other publishers rising in popularity, Boom Studios even, we're getting to the point where it's not just superheroes dominating the charts of comic sales. And especially when you even go a step further and take it to the book market and see things like Dogman and Raina Telgemeier dominating the charts over there. Those are what the comics that kids are growing up on now. And I always talk about that as well. Is like, I can get my son to read a superhero comic, but he'll read any sort. Like, he just read some, I don't know, it wasn't Raina Telgemeier, but it was a book, like a YA type book that he read last night, and he loved it. It was about someone yo-yoing, like a yo-yo, like a toy, and he loved it so much he wants a yo-yo now. And so we bought him a yo-yo, and now he's obsessed with doing yo-yo tricks, all because of this comic book he read. Which I guess is probably healthier than if he read a Batman comic and wanted to jump off a building. But anyways, but yeah, kids these days aren't reading superhero comics, so they're going to grow up on this whole different thing, and I think it's going to open the door for superheroes to not dominate. And I think Marvel and DC have a big hill to climb on that. Glad you agree you hate progs. Finding single volume comics helped me get into Western comics without being overwhelmed by choosing where to start. Matthew, I had the same experience with manga, and I still do. When I look at manga, people talk all the time about like manga readers going to like superhero comics. Where do I start? I want to read Batman. Where do I start? It's so confusing. And I agree with you. Totally confusing for a new reader. But as a Western comics reader looking at manga, when I look at One Piece that has like 100+ volumes, I'm looking at my shelves and I'm like, I don't have room for that. I don't know if I can want to dedicate the time to read 100 volumes. Now I will one day, Josh. Calm down. Cool your jets. I'll read One Piece one day. But it is overwhelming and daunting to me as well. So I'm always looking for manga that is like quick, short series. And those are kind of my favorite manga, honestly. So a similar experience with you going to Western comics and looking for like one and done volumes. No, just making the point that people with a downer on manga generally don't have a clue what they're talking about. And that's 100% fair. I think it's the same thing as like normies that look at comics. When you're like, I read comics, they're like, you read comics? Ugh. Like the view in their head is probably like Superman or Spider-Man or something. Like when comics could be so much more. And that's not to say that Superman and Spider-Man comics should be looked down upon. There's a lot of great comics for those characters. But there's so many more things that comics have to offer. I find it a challenge that if someone tells me they don't read comics, I could try to find a comic that they would dig. I'm shocked no one has launched a romance series. Like a true, actual romance comic. I agree. I agree with you. There's certainly comics that would like get kind of close to that, toe the line of what that would be. But we don't have any true romance comics. I agree. There's so many comics out there, Asian, European, American, such a wide choice. It's like people who say they don't like comics when there's so much choice. I agree. It has so much to offer. Manga has everything. They have stories of workers rising up the ladder to higher positions. I will say there is something to be said about when people say manga is better than Western comics, and we're talking about English readers. There's something to be said about how we don't have exposure to everything manga because not everything's been translated in English. Now that's progressively getting better and better and wider, which I love. But it's only like the best of the best that we're seeing on the shelves translated in English. It's not the same for Western. We're seeing everything for Western comics, good, bad, and ugly. Now, so like, I don't think it's a fair comparison, especially in English yet. I guess we're getting progressively more English, but when people are like, "Oh, manga is so much better than Western comics," it's like, I don't think it's a fair comparison. English 70s prog is awful, but give me early krautrock any day. Huh, you're an odd one. I just know stuff. Dana, English 70s prog is classic. Hatfield and North and Gong are proof of that. Oh, I love Gong. Dana, you and I have so much in common. I'll read One Piece one day. The day after the zine, he stops using StreamYard. Oh, Josh. Listen. I hear you. Can't wait to see where the younger generation of artists take comic medium. Matthew, that's always what I'm talking about. That's what I'm excited about. My son is currently working on a manga, like relentlessly. He has a goal of trying to finish the first chapter. And funny enough, he's calling it a manga. I don't know. I think he's trying to draw it right to left even, but he's releasing in single issues. I don't know. The kid, I'm not going to stop the kid. Whatever his vision is, I'm going to let him do. But he has a goal to try to finish it because he wants to give a copy to all his classmates by the end of the school year. So he's already a couple pages deep into it. And his goal is to finish it by the end of the school year, end of May. But again, he's one of these kids that's going to be hopefully making comics one day if he chooses to do so. And has like he has reference to superhero comics because his dad talks about them all the time, but almost no reference as a reader to them. He's going to be having so many inspirations outside of those. So like it's artists like him that are going to be great to see. Taylor about to go nuts after this statement. Oh, see, he knows I talk about this all the time. Hatfield only had one LP and Gong aren't prog. Try defending Yes. Haha. Like the band Yes? What about the band the Yeah Yeah Yeahs? I love that band. Taylor, you mentioned on just a stream about liking old Mad magazine, which I grew up on as well. Do you have any collected editions of them as well, if they exist? I have one. Yeah, DC released 4 of these archives of Mad Magazine, or Mad, sorry, just Mad, the Mad Archives. And they had 4 volumes, and it collected all of the single issue comic books of Mad. And I think the 4th volume has the first magazine issue where it was Mad Magazine. But I only have 1 volume because these are super out of print. I'm constantly on the hunt for volumes 2, 3, and 4 for good deals because I'd love to own these. But that's the only collected edition in the traditional sense that DC releases. And these are beautiful archives. Like the paper quality is great. The coloring is just gorgeous. DC, what are you doing? But the only other collected editions we have of Mad, I don't think I have any of those, are what you see at the grocery store where like you'll see like a Christmas stocking stuffer collection or best of movies of Mad. But then, like actual collecting issues, that's the only example we have. DC owns Mad Magazine and everything to do with it, but they do nothing with it, unfortunately. I wish they would. So I just had the magazines, which is fine. I don't need like definitive Mad Magazine. It would be so many volumes. I don't know how I would want Mad collected necessarily, but I don't know. But I do want those archives. Yeah, searching for single volumes led me to discover more alternative indie comics, which is great. Yes, that's the way to go. Street Music Hatfield had 2 albums, and Gong is indeed prog. Oh, we're going to have a genre argument here. Oh, no, did I mess up? Why do you think UK comics like 2000 AD products have never really broken through internationally when so many of their writers and artists have done so? That's a great question. And I think it only comes to probably availability. Because I know when those artists, whenever there's a big UK boom, or what do they call it? When Karen Berger grabbed all the UK artists and writers, they have a name for it. The British invasion. When they had the British invasion in the late 80s, early 90s with like Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons and Grant Morrison and I don't know, I'm trying to think of other ones. All the other ones. Eddie Campbell, like all those guys. I'm trying to think about like who's the Simon Bisley was another one that crossed over. All these artists and writers that worked for 2000 AD got like broke into comics through that, and then eventually started making Western comics. That's what you're referring to. Why didn't the comics that they did previously become popular over here? I don't know. I know today we're getting a lot of collections from Rebellion 2000 AD of those, celebrating those artists. Kevin O'Neill's another great one. I don't know. And I do know when they came over, when the British invasion happened in the early 90s, there was like Judge Dredd single issue comic books. Like there were some ways to read those things. I think 2000 AD was even being sold or distributed through the US around that time. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's availability. I think things like right now, pretty soon this year, we're getting a Alan Moore best of or no, it's not even best of. It's like the definitive collection of everything Alan Moore did with 2000 AD in a nice hardcover. I think those kinds of things would help because I think if those things had been available in the 90s, it would have helped 2000 AD a lot. But I don't know. Krautrock is great. Krautrock is great, but there are so many lesser known prog bands. I've really been digging them myself. I recommend Dread and Nemesis the Warlock. Hey now, there's Harvey Picard's Ghost. I just mentioned him. What did I miss? Can I start over from the top? Or can you start over from the top? I forget why I mentioned him. I don't know. I mentioned you though. Let's go over the rest of my haul real fast. I did grab an issue of Master Kung Fu, issue number 60. Slowly but surely working on building my whole collection of that. I did get Twilight Zone issue number 3 from my comic book shop last week. It's all James Stokoe writing and drawing. Haven't read it yet, but stoked for Twilight Zone series. And a couple more things. I did get this in the mail. This is a review copy from Fantagraphics. The Lights of Niederroy. I need to figure out how to pronounce that before I do my review, obviously. But this thing is gorgeous. And it's from a Brazilian cartoonist, I believe, who did Listen Beautiful Marsha before with Fantagraphics. But flipping through this, the lettering is amazing. Look at this. I love the mixture of like, it looks like almost like European artwork, but with like Western style lettering, like on the sound effects and things. It's just gorgeous. But this is one of those comics from overseas that I have no knowledge of. I'm trying to find another good example of lettering. So I'm excited to dive into this. You can look for my review sometime. I think it comes out next month. Let me see. This comes out, March. So you can look for my review in March. I'll be caught up with my Fantagraphics books by then, surely. And then I picked up, which will be my next video you see on my channel, which will come out tomorrow, Shaolin Cowboy. What's it called? Beginning of the End Results, in this beautiful hardcover, which for the first time in English collects the Bourbon Threat comic book series or serial that Jeff Darrow did with Mobius back in the day. Not Mobius, like it was Mobius's, like, I forget what he called it. There's information in here, but Mobius's comic that he was doing, like his anthology. So there's no Mobius artwork in here or writing or anything. So when I say with Mobius, it's with this anthology magazine. But Jeff Darrow, I've always noticed how Mobius was an influence on his artwork. But Bourbon Threat, this is my first time reading it. You can definitely see the Mobius in his artwork, and it's gorgeous. But I guess Jeff Darrow is on record too saying that the Bourbon Threat, which is kind of like the prequel, kind of like the pilot episode, I would say, of Shaolin Cowboy. He's going to reference that in a new series of Shaolin Cowboy. So this is important for him to get this out. Now, this also collects the Star Trek, the first series of Shaolin Cowboy that was released in this hardcover. So if you buy the new Beginning of the End Results, do you still need the Star Trek hardcover? I'm going to answer that in my video. I'm going to do a comparison of the two because I love Shaolin Cowboy. Still looking for a hardcover of Who Will Stop the Rain, by the way. If anyone finds me one for a good price, that's the only one I'm missing. But I'll give you guys a little tip since you're live with me, and I appreciate it. You don't need this anymore. The Star Trek hardcover, you can sell it, you can give it to a friend or whatever you do, because, oh my gosh, I almost took out the DeLorean. Every single page of this book is included in this. Every single page, including the alternate covers that were done by other artists, including everything. The only thing that you'll be missing will be like the end papers are different, which I'll go over that in my video, but you don't need that Star Trek hardcover anymore. And that's my haul. Close to the Edge and Fragile by Yes are classics. I made a video for you. I have the first two Russ Cochran Mad hardcover collections. I don't own any of those, unfortunately. If you join Tyalor's Discord, Picture Peepers dropped a box set of Mad he got. Oh yeah, that it was collected in that too, right? Relayer is my favorite Yes album. I think two things. The Dread movie flopped the first ones. The book size is hated by shops. That's a good point. The progs are different trim size, but I feel like comic book shops should get over themselves because comics should be available in every format. Whatever format the artist wants. But the Dread movie flopping did hurt, especially the Stallone one in the 90s probably hurt it. And also the newest one is a great movie, but I don't think it did well in the box office either. Compact Comic Guy, hey. Well, hello, thank you for joining me. Some prog stinks and punk was necessary. ELP with all their trucks for their rugs. I don't know what that means. Taylor, you love anthologies. You want more anthologies, but you don't want to get all of Twilight Zone. That's different, Josh. What I'm talking about when I say I want more anthologies is a comic book issue that has like 3 different strips in it. This is all just one story in each of these comics. So like Marvel Fanfare was a great anthology. Marvel Comics Presents is what I want with those anthologies. But I do it is an anthology series though. And you know what will probably happen is there'll be so many of these issues that I pick up, I'll probably end up filling in the gaps anyways, because I'm a completist. I try not to be, but I couldn't get into Shaolin Cowboy, but eager to see your thoughts. Oh, Josh, Shaolin Cowboy is so great. I was beginning to say that Street Music is a romance comic in its way. Oh, the Street Music anthology series that Dana edited back in the 90s. I think it was 90s. I still need to pick that up, Dana. Same Josh. Glad I'm not alone. I found that they're doing a Ninja Turtles Saturday Morning Adventures comic as a compact. Oh, that's a great idea. But put it into department stores. This compact format is amazing, but we need to see it in Walmarts and Targets and grocery stores or whatever. Don't just put it in bookstores where the original trade paperbacks were anyways, and don't just put it in comic book shops where comic book fans know how to get your comics anyways. Look forward to getting hold of Bourbon Threat. It's great. Carpets. We'll end on that note. So I'm going to get out of here. I still have a few videos I need to film because yes, I am back on that front. I'm going to release some videos. Enough of you have asked for it, and I need to deliver to the viewers. So I will be doing that. And thank you guys so much for watching. I'm going to go over my last minute plugs. Put your last minute comments or questions in the chat. And after my plugs, I will get to your questions, comments, and then we'll get out of here. So up first, smash the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below. Whether you're watching this live or on the replay, comment down below. I reply to all comments. And super chats are always appreciated and welcome. Thank you, Boss Guy, earlier for the super chat. Very, very much appreciated. And then $2 off your order at poundandboundcomics.com. Shop over there for your omnibuses, trade paperbacks, collected editions. If there's something on there or something you want on there to order through them that you don't see, let me know and I could get it added. But $2 off your order using Taylor Talks Comics, all one word. If you're putting a bigger order in of 4 books or more, use my other promo code, TTC Ship It Together, all one word, TTC Ship It Together. Save 5% off that order. This week I'll have the Shaolin Cowboy video dropping tomorrow, and I'm going to do some other videos. I'm going to try to start, maybe I should start a new streak of like every day I do a video. I don't know. Oh, I got another super chat before the end of it. Thank you so much, Cal Pernius. Really enjoyed it and got a lot out of your top 10, 15, etc. Let's keep on, man. Thank you so much. I do plan on doing more lists this year of different things because for whatever reason, not for whatever reason, I enjoy a good list anyways, but they attract a lot of attention. So maybe it could be a good spotlight for some comics that people aren't aware of. But thank you so much for your super chat. Super, super appreciated. Let's see what else. Compact Guy. Yeah, I just buy my Compact Comics on Amazon, but I agree, put it in all stores. We enjoy when you talk comics. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. And I get it. I agree. And it's good for it's good for my soul to make comics related content and put it out there. I get as much enjoyment out of it as you. There's my Discord. Everybody go over there and talk comics with us. Got to run. Thanks, Taylor and chat, for a fun time. Thank you, Matt. Have a great day / night, everyone. Matthew, you as well. And everyone, keep talking comics.